we are ready for the call to order if Rachel wants to take over.
Yeah. Would you like me to call the attendance?
Yes, ma'am.
Chairman Stafford?
Here.
Commissioner Perry?
Here.
Commissioner Rader?
Here.
Commissioner Ragsdale?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
You have 5 members present.
Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate it. Have we adopted the agenda? I take it not?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Motion for adoption of the agenda?
Motion.
So moved. Oh.
Second. All right. All in favor? Do we need a roll call count?
We do need a roll call because it's virtual.
All right. Thank you, Rachel.
Chairman Stafford?
Aye.
Commissioner Perry?
Aye.
Commissioner Rader?
Aye.
Commissioner Ragsdale?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Chairman, you have 5 ayes.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. All right. Do we have any public comments, Dr. Gentile?
No, sir, we do
Okay.
not, Doug. We do not.
All right. I'll take a motion for approval of the minutes of the February 6th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right. Roll call vote.
Chairman Stafford?
Aye.
Commissioner Perry?
Aye.
Commissioner Rader?
Aye.
Commissioner Ragsdale?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Abstain.
Chairman, you have 4 ayes and 1 abstention.
All right. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, let me change my vote, please, to an abstention since I wasn't at the meeting.
Very well.
Was not appointed to the meeting.
Yep, that's fine.
You have 3 ayes and 2 abstentions.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. All right. Just want to, on that note, introduce our newest members, Commissioner Ragsdale, Commissioner Smith. Thank you so much for participating on this committee. We appreciate your expertise and what you'll bring, excuse me, to this committee. Thank you for that. Commissioner Perry, thank you for your continued service on the commission, on the committee, I should say. Thank you as well. And see, there you are, Commissioner Rader. Thank you so much. You weren't on my screen. Good to see you. Thank you so much for your work and your participation on the committee. All right. Let's see. Have I missed anybody? No.
No, sir.
All right. Very well. Continuing with the
I think we lost your volume, sir. Okay, we're going to have the chart. Let me get Heather. Heather, we need to step on. One of those days.
Mr. Stafford, can you try speaking again? Okay. And somehow we're getting feedback as well. I'm not sure that's
Worst case, he may be able to dial in from his phone.
Okay. Sorry. Mr. Stafford, can you speak now? Or as Commissioner Rader mentioned, try to call in from the phone.
Yeah, Heather is sending him instructions.
Okay. All right, let's try this. I just muted Commissioner Stafford to not get that feedback as he tries to call in. Doug, do you want to walk us through the audit committee charter?
Okay, the audit committee charter. We've recently had. We're having that echo, so.
Yeah, he just muted himself again. So how about Mr. Doug, go for it. Commissioner Stafford, we're going to leave you muted so we don't have that feedback. Doug, continue forward. I'm going to call. Brian.
Okay. We've recently had the merger of THEC and THEC together. And in his dual role, that's the first change under the purpose. In his dual role is the higher education. What's in red are the changes to the charter, and that's what I'm going over right now, the different changes. The authority, the creation of the audit committees under the State Tennessee Audit Committee Act of 2005. The audit committee charter will be reviewed annually by the audit committee, at least annually. And it also will be approved by the audit committee. Any changes will be approved by the audit committee itself and forwarded to the comptroller. The committee shall be selected by the audit committee chair and confirmed by the commission. It used to be the board of directors, but THEC no longer has the board of directors. In the absence of the audit committee chair, the committee shall be selected by the commission chair and confirmed by the commission. This is in alignment with the THEC commission. That's hence the change. The chair should be selected. The chair should be selected. There we go. By the committee members for a term of 2 years. This aligns with the THEC commission also. And again, the changes are in red. Meetings, we plan to have a meeting at least annually, but we plan to have one in both the winter and the fall. After this one, the next meeting is scheduled for February. We'll try to do February, July. It was hard to align things this time, hence the meeting in November, but traditionally our meetings will be in both February and in July. Their responsibilities. Okay. This is a big deal for most audit committees. But as Stephen spoke about earlier, we haven't had any findings. Keep my fingers crossed. But when there's no findings, there's no interaction of the audit committee with the external auditors. And we're in a good position right now. No further comments on that because I'll jinx ourselves. But if there's no findings, there's no interaction with the auditors. We'll see how the Q&A process goes right now. But this traditionally is a big area of action for the audit committee, is to work with the state and federal auditors. So,
Can you all hear me?
We can hear
yes, sir.
you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's great.
Thumbs up.
Okay.
Good deal.
All right. I'm not sure why I had audio problems there, but hopefully we can press on. Doug, can you speak? Can we hear you?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Do you want to take us through the charter, please?
Okay, we're on the state and federal audit portion of that. And the audit committee has oversight of the federal and state audits. We haven't had any findings, hence there's no action to perform right now, and that's a blessing. We're not complaining, but that would be traditionally a big area of action for the audit committees, to work with the auditors, external auditors. Internal control. This is a big deal. The audit process is risk-based. The audit committee will review management's risk assessment. I'm going to cover this and other audit items in a few minutes and give you a 20,000-foot review of the risk management process. I'm not going to take a long time, but we will discuss the risk management process in just a few minutes. Review the internal auditor's administrative reporting relationship. Let's see if this works. It better work. This is my reporting relationship. I report directly to you, the audit committee, functionally. Operationally, I report on a day-to-day basis to Dr. Gentile, the executive director. Indirectly, I report to Jason Cavender, our CFO, and Scott Sloan, our COO, and also to the executive director of internal audit. If we weren't not an executive agency, I would report directly to him also, but I report indirectly because we are executive. Well, you ask, well, why in the world do I report to the EIA, the executive auditor? He has a lot of connections for good training opportunities, quality assurance program, peer review. I mean, in the peer review environment, and we'll talk more about this in a few minutes, in the state of Tennessee, we review one another's departments of internal audit. I'm actually on that team. I'll be reviewing I believe it's the Department of Education. And another month, I'm on the peer review team, but that's an excellent source of contacts, the EIA.
Hey, Doug, are you supposed to be sharing the screen right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The internal control.
Yeah, we don't see it.
Another item for you.
Doug, it's not being shared.
Got it?
Got it.
Internal
Got it.
control. Okay. Is review the audit plan. We'll also review that later as well. The external auditors that we spoke about earlier, there are no external auditors. We have a hearing and a Q&A process. All right, communications and reporting. The audit committee reports regularly to the commission. This is normally on an annual basis. Usually in the winter meeting, the chair will report to the commission on the activities of the internal audit function. So in the winter meeting, Commissioner Stafford will report to the commission on what's occurring. And finally, this is a new one. And maintain a quality and assurance improvement program. This is a fairly new standard. When this process began a few years ago, I said, you've got to be kidding. I'm going to have people come in and review the work I do. Just think about if someone came in and reviewed your work. That was my original mentality. But as we got into the process, said, hey, this is a good idea. I mean, we've got pros coming in, other internal auditors from other state departments come in and review the process. There's both an internal review and an external review. We have an external review of the operations of the internal audit once every 5 years. And I am due for my external review next fall. In fact, this time of next year, I'll actually be going to my external review. We have an internal review on an annual basis. And it's to see if basically if I'm dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's in the internal audit environment. It's actually a good thing. I'm glad we do have a quality assurance and improvement program. And if there's any questions, let me know concerning the charter, Commissioner Stafford.
All right. Any questions for Doug? The one thing I do want to make sure that the committee members appreciate is the importance of the internal audit function as well as the committee itself. And so sometimes I think people think of audit committees as really being strictly about numbers. And the function of internal audit is really to ensure that the operations of our organization run effectively. And as I think all of you know, there are so many things that can happen in any organization, whether it's from a compliance perspective and information technology perspective, or just a traditional operations perspective. And so the job of internal audit is really to help us be aware of where there are process breakdowns And as a committee, while it's not our role to get involved in the day-to-day managing or operations of the organization, we should understand where the risks are and how they impose threat upon the institution. So for that purpose, I really encourage each of us to make sure that we're aware of the information that we receive, that we read it, and that we ask questions about anything that we don't understand. So any thoughts or comments on that? Or anything that is covered in the charter itself? All right, with that, we do need approval of the charter. So I'd ask
Motion to
for a
approve.
motion and a second. Did I hear a second?
Second, sorry.
Second.
All right. All right, thank you. Rachel, would you call the roll?
Chairman Stafford,
Aye.
Commissioner Perry,
Aye.
Commissioner Rader,
Aye.
Commissioner Ragsdale,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Chairman, you have 5 ayes.
Terrific, thank you. Next item is the post-secondary state authorization audit review. Doug, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. As we were speaking a few minutes ago at the introduction, this is under Pete's team, and Stephanie Ballard works for Pete, and this is a big deal what she does with the authorizations, regular authorizations and the optional expedited authorizations. I did a deep dive into her program, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But first and foremost, it was observed that the overall operations are performed well in a professional and competent manner. And this wording is actually required in the internal audit environment now, and they're doing a good job. But as Commissioner Stafford was saying, we found some things that we thought could be improved, and we'll get into those in just a minute. Okay, what was I looking at? Basically, I was seeing if they're adhering to the TCA and the policies and procedures that regulate authorizations of post-secondary institutions. DPSA is guided by various procedures, including TCA 1540.1.2 for regular authorizations and 1541 optional expedited authorizations. And these encompass the rules for the majority of the program activities. And what we're going to do is a little bit of tag team. Stephanie and I are going to go back and forth for just a minute, and Stephanie's going to tell you a little bit about the program highlights. So Stephanie, if you want to speak, please.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of our division and the major duties and functions that we have. It's very brief, so if you want details, just let me know. Pursuant to the Tennessee Higher Education Authorization Act of 2016, THEC is directly responsible for the oversight and operation of degree and non-degree granting, accredited and unaccredited institutions that offer a wide variety of academic, career, technical, and trade programs. Public and TICUA institutions are exempt from our regulatory oversight. As of January 1st, 2025, there were 260 approved institutions. 190 of them are regular authorization. Regular authorization, we have a harder regulatory footprint with them. A lot of them are unaccredited. Some of them are accredited, but they have more regulations to follow. Of the 190 regular authorized institutions, 52 are accredited, 138 are unaccredited, 142 are for-profit, and 48 are not-for-profit. We had 70 optional expedited authorization institutions. To qualify for what we call OEA, you have to be accredited, Title IV eligible, or in good financial standing with your accreditor. So all 70 of those institutions are accredited. 40 are for-profit, and 30 are not-for-profit. These institutions offered approximately 3,500 programs, and they enrolled approximately 61,000 students and conferred approximately 21,000 post-secondary educational credentials in fiscal year 24. So the enabling statute, Title 49, Chapter 7, Part 20, it is to provide for the protection and education of Tennessee citizens, institutions, and students. Some of the major duties and functions include reviewing initial authorization and new program registration requests, annual recertification applications. Each institution has to be recertified each year. Complaints. One of the things we do for consumer protection is complaints. So students have a mechanism outside of the institution if the institution does not handle their complaint effectively. Statistical data collection and reporting. We call it SLSD, but we collect information for every program that every institution offers. They have to send us how many students were enrolled, the completion, withdrawal, and placement rates. Well, they send us raw data and we calculate it. We also do change of name and change of location application request. We serve as a repository for transcripts of closed institutions. So when institutions close, we get their transcripts and we fulfill transcript requests for students that went to that school in the past. We administer institution closures and we serve as the advisory staff for the Tuition Guarantee Fund Board. That is my short overview. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Dr. Bella Chase? Thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate it.
All right. I believe I go from there. Excuse me. Okay. Were there any findings? No findings, but I had 5 observations, and I'm going to highlight the two observations, and I want you to think about these. I'm a plain guy. I just speak plainly. There's no reason to get complicated, but I want you to think about this. There's no centralized summary of programmatic data. As noted above, there are a large number of programs offered at private institutions. The programs vary from truck driving to doctoral philosophy degrees. I mean, and the delivery methods range from residential to in-person to residential to virtual. Students and other stakeholders are unable to compare program data in an efficient way. This includes comparing the benefits of public versus private offerings. Now, I'll note that TCA does not require this, so Stephanie and her team are adhering to the letter, but it seems like you would offer some type of comparison. One of my best examples is if you wanted to take up cosmetology and you live in, let's say, Lawrence County, there's no way to tell the number of cosmetology offerings in that particular region. I mean, how do you compare public versus private, or even then you'd have to look at you'd have to know the name of the institutions that are available. But that was one of my observations. There's no centralized summary of the programmatic data. So, and I'll go ahead and hit my next one, and then I'll have Stephanie reply. All right, this is a big one here. As a result of the Tennessee Higher Education Act of 2016, THEC greatly reduced the fee structure for the majority of the authorized institutions. This fee decrease resulted in an approximate 60% reduction in DPSA revenues, prompting a gradual reduction in staff from 20 full-time to 6 full-time. So far, so good. Okay, but what were they doing? The staff reduction led to the cessation of cyclical audits. That's my field. And Commissioner Stafford, effectively eliminating scheduled site inspections. Okay, does that matter? Okay, I looked at the previous findings and see if they were having any findings. The audits were uncovering critical issues, demonstrating that they were adding significant value. Findings included missing admission documents, missing enrollment documents, transfer of credit, data that's missing documentation for placements, The absence of these audit reports represents a significant operational risk. That was how I deemed the ending of the cyclical audits. So if Stephanie can reply to these two, please.
Yes, so the
Doug,
one about,
Commissioner, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Doug, can you just give the committee a little bit of perspective of the difference between observations and findings of issues?
Findings have a direct impact on the program, and they have a direct impact to the public operations. Observations are at a higher level. There is no direct impact, but it's deemed that best practices are not being followed. And that's my simplistic definition, sir.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate that. Stephanie, Dr. Belichase, if you would go ahead and respond.
Yes,
if you
sir.
have any.
So as far as the centralized summary of programmatic data, we do have student level statistical data reports on our website for all authorized institutions. So students are able to, if they say they want to go to South College, they can go to that website, they can look at all the programs that South College offers, and they can see the withdrawal, completion, and placement rates. Right now, we have like 3 to 5 years of reports for each institution. However, our data is not centralized with the public institutions or the THEC private institutions. So we have been meeting with the Division of Public Policy and Research, PPR, and IT. We've had 3 or 4 meetings now, and we're trying to come up a way to enable better access to our data as compared to public and THEC institutions. So it might take a while, but it is in the works, and they're looking at different ways that we can do that.
All right.
Commissioner Stafford, if I may.
Yes.
So just to follow up on that work Stephanie's been leading, Dr. Belichase has been leading, actually originates from a commission meeting observation from August of last year, in which Chairwoman Scarlett noted, we've got all this data that we're collecting from these institutions.
Yep.
What is it? Are we able to track them like we can other data through our P20 TN data system? And that's been the origin of it. But to Dr. Belichase's point, could we be more transparent with that data? We are looking into that for the future. But this does live on our website by institution.
Terrific. Thank you, Dr. Gentile. All right.
Okay,
Any
so
other comments, Dr. Belichase?
not on that particular recommendation, no, sir.
Dr. Smith.
Well, maybe this is where you're going, but why was there such a substantial reduction in the fee structure?
So from my understanding, the intent of the Higher Education Authorization Act of 2016 was for us to have a lighter regulatory footprint. And because we don't receive state revenue, the only money that we get are from the schools. So when you reduce the revenue, you reduce the regulatory footprint.
Do we have the authority to adjust those rates?
Actually, sir, we just raised our fees starting July 1, 2025. They're still not where they once were, but we did just have an increase because we had got to the point where we were depleting our reserve. So they have been adjusted starting July 1, 2025. But they're still, not to the point they were back before the act.
Commissioner Stafford, if I may.
Yes, sir.
To that point, again, going back to what Dr. Belichase mentioned, the intent of this Authorization Act of 2016 was ultimately to lead to where we are on staffing. We cut fees in response to the intent of that legislation, which was to have that lighter regulatory touch. The fee increase that we had just recently, just to flesh it out some more, was in recognition that we've been operating with a reserve over those 10 years. That reserve has been dwindling. We've increased the fees to maintain our operations as are, not to add more staff, and not to add more scope to what we're doing in alignment with this Authorization Act. That said, we've been grappling with this observation because it highlights what Doug is concerned about is that we're unable to really check in on these institutions as frequently as we once were. And so going back to that first observation that was discussed, is there a way that we can make what we do know about them more transparent? If we can't make it to every institution on a cyclical basis, can we at least make their data more transparent for all to see? That's been how we've been thinking internally about responding to this observation.
Commissioner Smith, any other questions?
I just wanted to add, if I may, Commissioner Stafford, that we still thoroughly review initial authorization applications. We do perform site visits. Additionally, if you're already authorized and you want to offer a new program and it's equipment specific, like truck driving or cosmetology or CNA, certified nurse assistant, we do site visits on a regular basis. We just don't do the audits on a regular basis anymore. And because we have the complaint process, if we receive a complaint and if there's a need, we will go to the institution. So we still have the authority to visit institutions. It's just not on a regular basis the way it used to be.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Dr. Bella Chase, any additional feedback?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Dr. Gentile, anything further? All right.
No, sir.
Doug?
Okay. We will now look at the GIV audit with Mitch Curry and his team. As with DPSA, it was observed that the overall GIV operations are performed in a professional and competent manner. They're doing a good job. They're putting out a lot of fires, if you will, because in the GIV environment, because at one time they had both 2 and 3 programs going at the same time. So what did I do? I focused on assessing the requirements for the GIV operation. I'd look at the contract and see if the internal controls tied to the contract requirements and verified adherence to the relevant program guidance and the state policies and procedures, and see if it aligned with the actual workforce needs that were identified in the agreements. I didn't evaluate their needs. I just determined if they were doing what they said they would do. It's that simple. Did they do what they said they would do? So with that, I'll bounce the ball to Mitch for a second so he can describe the program. Mitch.
Good morning, Chairman Stafford, members of the committee, and Executive Director Gentile. I'm going to speak to you for a few minutes just about the Governor's Investment in Vocational Education Grants. So GIV facilitates the alignment of local workforce and education partners through a competitive grant process. Proposals must identify and address local skills gaps through one or a combination of the following 3 methods. First, enhance, expand, or acquire equipment to develop an academic program that creates a pathway from secondary to post-secondary, leads to a credential, and meets a critical workforce need. 2, develop and implement collaborative, meaningful, and structured work-based learning experiences. And 3, provide industry-recognized certifications to meet identified regional workforce need. Since 2019, Governor Bill Lee and the Tennessee General Assembly have appropriated $100 million across 4 rounds of funding. GIV 2.0 was a $25 million investment and funded 27 projects across 21 institutions. As an example of one of these projects, Columbia State Community College was able to expand its engineering systems technology program into additional high schools. To support this growth, the college launched a mobile classroom equipped with advanced training tools, allowing students in schools with limited resources to access hands-on training. Grant funding was also used to upgrade and install equipment at additional new and existing sites at various high schools. This initiative improved access to technical education, provided advanced robotics training, and increased work-based learning opportunities through required internships in engineering-related fields. This is just one example of how GIV provides funding to TCATs and community colleges to foster collaborative partnerships and establish, enhance, or expand high-demand career training programs to address workforce skills gaps across the volunteer state. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mitch. Any questions for Mitch? All right, hearing none, I'll pass it back to you, Doug.
All righty. There were 5 observations in the Give 2.0 audit. There were no findings, but I'm going to highlight the 2 that I thought were most important. Okay, the regional workforce is lacking from the local employers on the impact of the grant. I mean, that was the whole idea, was to assist the workforce and get in additional employees in there. Employer feedback was missing. There's no support of whether it has occurred. Surveys regarding any workforce improvements are not requested of partner employers. Questions are not asked whether Give skill sets are helpful for increasing the skilled workers in the area. Did they give us more welders? Did they give us more people in HVAC repairs? This was not required. And originally I was more severe in my observation than I should have been. And Commissioner Stafford said that, no, you can't do that. This was not required in the contract. So Mitch and Commissioner Stafford were correct. I cannot be real severe on this because Mitch did follow the letter of the contract, but it seems best practices would involve obtaining and reviewing the information to support decision making, whether the workforce was actually assisted. So Mitch will reply to this one in just a second. My second observation: summary reports were unavailable. Achievements, success stories, etc., etc. Give 2.0 program reports and progress have been limited. Interested parties, commissioners, legislators are receiving limited feedback of Give 2.0. Mitch and his team are knocking it out of the park. I'll speak bluntly. I'm a regular guy. What they're doing is a big deal. They need to tell their story more. Again, he was telling them, adhering to the letter of the contract. It didn't say there had to be feedback that says, wow, you need to tell your story. That's what my observation is all about. I was at the master plan meeting, and I talked to virtually everybody. It doesn't matter if you're the president or just a regular guy like myself. But I was talking to some of the people at the table and some of the presidents of the TCATs, and we happened to talk about their Give projects. And I asked them, do you have Give projects? These guys went off the map and praised the program. Said, man, we're doing so much here that we couldn't have done otherwise. With Mitch and his team, they provided so many resources. This was a welding program. Said, we've opened so many welding operations. We're doing so much for our employers, but it's a big deal. What they're doing is a big deal. So I'll let Mitch reply to these 2 observations that I have.
Thank you, Doug. I'll go with the workforce response lacking first. So we have not traditionally gathered any employer feedback. However, once Doug pointed that out, I did realize it's kind of well within the scope and would be helpful just to determining if the individual Give projects are functioning as we hope they would. So to address this in the future, we've already implemented an employer engagement survey, and that's being implemented through Give 3.0, which is ongoing right now. So we're hoping to gather some feedback from the employers and determine if projects are producing well-trained employees as they intend to. Grantees are going to be required to send this out to their business partners because we don't really have all their contacts, and they may add partners along the way too. But it goes out to the employer, done on a biannual basis, and then once the survey results come in, my team's kind of looking at them to see if there's anything egregious that we need to go kind of deal with, or just if the overall comments are good, and just trying to see what we can do to better from there. In regards to the second observation about the summary reports, it's actually kind of mentioned twice in Doug's report. One has to do with the individual grant projects themselves not having a summary, and the one Doug has highlighted here is just the overall Give as a whole not having a summary. So for the individual projects, we are making a change for 2.0. Traditionally didn't require them to do a summary report at the end because they submit a narrative report every quarter that gives me that information along the way. So I found it redundant to do additional work on them, but we're going to tweak it a little bit, and their final narrative report will be somewhat of a summary. And then as for the Give program as a whole, actually at the end of Give 2, we did start doing, calling it a Give snapshot, because it's not a full report, but it kind of gives a brief overview of kind of, what all has happened during the course of the year. Intend on doing those annually. And it's more like a one-pager, trying to show like some of the big wins and some of the success stories along the way. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mitch. Any questions for Mitch?
Commissioner Stafford, if I
Hearing
may.
none. Yes, go ahead, Dr. Gentile.
I just want to speak briefly on this. First of all, Mitch and his team are the models of grant managers for our agency. And
Yeah. Thank you.
And also, I know I was not surprised that there were no findings with them, even given that they give over hundreds of millions of dollars for grants on behalf of the governor of the General Assembly. That said, we do need to do better as an organization overall. I see this as an observation of the agency, not so much of the give grant, of better evaluating every single thing that we do so that we can see if we're on the right path or not, if it's a good policy option. Because I do want to, going forward, find ways to seed academic programs in the future out a model like this, but we just need to do a better job of collecting the information and then sharing our story. So thank you, Doug, for these observations.
Can I add
Gentile, I
something?
appreciate that feedback.
Can I add something,
that's
Commissioner?
important for the committee to hear and to understand. Doug, go ahead.
On a side note, I send surveys out after each audit and ask if I'm actually adding value to the program. That's a big deal. I mean, do the program directors see any value added? The most people report back, give me glowing reports. That's not what that's great, but I need to have some constructive criticism. Mitch is the only one who gave me constructive criticism. I mean, it's payback, and that's fair. That's what he gave me good ideas of how I can actually improve my responses. So that's appreciated. But the audit committee needs to know that we do send out surveys to each auditee, and they do tell us whether value has been added to the program because of the audit. So that's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Mitch, for your tremendous service and for your leadership of the GIVE program. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Last item on the agenda is the internal audit updates. Doug, I'll turn it to you. Oh, sorry. Is there a question, Dr. Smith?
Yeah, I didn't realize that we were going to move on to the next agenda item because I guess this question goes to Mitch. In the observations that Doug has provided, and then I'm assuming that what's in red is your response. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, in a couple of these cases, you say, well, you know, it's just too burdensome to collect the information regarding certifications. Are you referring to the verification of the certifications, or you're not collecting any information regarding certifications?
I believe you're referring to the entry certification when they're, sir. So we collect information that says X number of students took this exam or certification exam and passed it. Those are usually done by third parties. So we don't have any way of really verifying that Bob Smith took that exam. So our verification really just comes down to the numbers. We get a set number that says, 15 people set for OSHA 10 students passed it. We get that information. And a lot of times, not always, but actually, let me rephrase it. Some of the times, Give dollars are paying for those certifications. Other times, those certifications are being done as part of their Give program, but are not being paid for with Give dollars. So when they're being paid for with Give dollars, I do have a little bit more of a way to kind of verify. Again, like my example, if you say 15 students set for this, I should be able to go back to the financial records and see where you pay for 15 seats. But as we're getting down in the nitty gritty of the names, the way those are done through third parties, we don't have any access to gather that information.
Well, you don't have that access to gather the information from the issuer, but the student knows, doesn't he or she? The student knows whether they got the certification or not.
Correct. I would assume.
Then why? To me, this is a missed opportunity to have a complete count of post-secondary certifications. Am I right about that? I mean,
I'm not.
wouldn't we want to make every effort to count these certifications as part of our overall THEC strategic plan of post-secondary education achievements?
Well,
Mitch, I can speak to that real quick, if that's okay.
and I do have one other thing to add, just to clarify about all these certifications too,
Wait.
sir.
Mitch, go ahead and clarify.
A lot of these are happening at the K-12 level.
Oh,
So-
okay. Okay.
Well, I will add to that. I was just reviewing an internal report from another organization just yesterday. And it was a recommendation that they put forward as well, that both K-12 and higher ed need to do all that they can do to try to collect this information. I think, one could say we could go about it through these give grants one at a time, but I think that's a more systemic, we need a more system-oriented approach to doing it in conjunction with K-12. And so I'm going to keep that as something that we need to collect in the future and find ways that we can make that happen. But right now, that's not something that we do.
Well, to me, one of the simplest ways of collecting that information, because the student is still in the program, is to ask the student what they achieved. We don't have to go to the industry and say, who did you issue certifications for? And that much broader discussion, Stephen, but that relates very much to a project at Motlow about
Yes, sir.
how individual students own their own credentials.
And
So for
Dr. Roberts just reminded me that she's actually working on a project right now that is exploring this exact thing for further implementation in the future. So it's not just on our radar, but we have our chief academic officer working on a grant right now to see what we can do in that space.
Great.
Well.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm encouraged by that. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Smith. I think that's excellent point made. Appreciate that. And to maybe further the questioning, Dr. Gentile, it seems like this is an important aspect in terms of really understanding the certifications specifically. Is there significant effort that is required to gain this information from the individual students, or is this information that we would have available to us easily?
This is my understanding, and I'll encourage Dr. Roberts, if she's available, to speak more to this as well, and ask her to if she's got more information. My understanding, this is not information that is collected by the entities that we collect data from. So the institutions, that's where we get this information, all information that we have for our student information system. So it would be really what our role would be defining what it is we want institutions to collect if they are able. Dr. Roberts?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Gentile. So one of the things that we're partnering with Department of Education, Department of Labor, trying to figure out, and TBR is really already in the space pretty heavily as far as tracking things that are what we would consider a non-degree credential. They've been working in the tracking on the TCAT side, their workforce training programs. And so as we're having all these conversations about tracking what we would consider non-degree credentials, we're trying to figure out how to do that, as Stephen mentioned, from a state perspective as instead of one-off. I know Department of Labor some time ago, back when Jonathan Attridge, who's at OEI now, was still at DOE, had been working, trying to do this. And it's much more complex than you would think. I think we've made some good progress. And so this is something that we're with a state agency team trying to figure out, and Mitch is co-leading that work with me. Did I miss anything, Mitch?
I don't believe so.
So we're working on it. And it's one of the things, and Stephen mentioned this as well, is part of the problem is definitional. We call things all kinds of different names depending on who you're talking to. So also been working with Amanda's team, Amanda Cofane, to think about it from a data perspective as well. Jacob Kamer on her team and I just met the other day. There's a National Skills Coalition group that's looking at this same issue as well. So all of that to say, we do not have an answer, but we're asking lots of questions.
Very informative. Thank you, Dr. Roberts. Appreciate that. Commissioner Smith, any additional questions? I do appreciate the points that you've made. Thank you. All right. Thank you all. Appreciate it. And didn't mean to rush the agenda. I thought I had already asked for final questions. So with that, all consciences are clear. Are we ready to move to the last item? All right. Doug, last item, internal audit updates.
Okay. The audit process is risk-based, and the overwhelming theme is that the risks are based upon and determined in the Financial Integrity Act. The Financial Integrity Act adheres to TCA 918-101 through 104. It's a required report by the comptroller or F&A, excuse me, that the agencies turn in each year. Agencies list out their risks and their compensating controls. And so many times it's looked at as a check the box activity. I mean, we have to list our risk. We have to have our controls. Since I've had Commissioner Stafford involved, he said, no, this is not a check the box. I want an in-depth review. I want you to list every risk. So I have been involved in depth face-to-face reviews with every one of our bureau chiefs over the past month or so, along with Jason Cavender. He's gathered this information previously, and we've had long conversations with our different bureau chiefs. Our previous audit environment, we had around 50 some odd risk and controls, and I'll show you the list briefly in a minute, but we're up to approximately 81 auditable programs. And the program managers, every one of them has confirmed that their list encompasses all known risks of their program. Attached is the summary of the risks across the agency. Everything from general risks, human resources, access and outreach, academic affairs, PPR, master plan. Obviously, that was not on there previously, but it is there now. And in this note, I'll note that fiscal policy has moved over to Jason Cavender. That's under fiscal now. Student aid and compliance, F&A, general counsel, and external relations. We have approximately 81 auditable programs now. And that's just again, I'm a speak bluntly, that's a big deal. We have a lot of programs to review, and it's just me and my team of me, myself, and I. And I think it's a good time for Dr. Gentile to comment on our request for additional help in my environment. So Dr. Gentile, please, about our employee request.
Yes, Doug, thank you. Coming to the commission in 2 weeks, we'll have our internal budget request that we ask for approval before moving on to the governor. And one of those requests is for a second audit position, putting me in the rare company of being an agency head asking for a new auditor, additional auditor as well. But we do have lots of programs. I very much value the work that Doug does to make us better and to improve us, but we don't have the capacity to review all that we do to make sure that I'm not at risk for what we're doing. So that is a request coming in front of you in the next 2 weeks at our commission meeting for a second assistant auditor. Doug, can you speak to column N and how we got the calculated fields and what those mean?
I was ready for that. Yes, sir. The fields are risk-based. And prepare yourself. I warned you. Okay, it's everything from strategic risks, operational risks, budgetary risk, et cetera, et cetera. You have a copy. This is a copy in your SharePoint under the risk assessment. You can look at this anytime that you wish. And the total of these risks come to the calculated field of everything from 3.6 to 4.0. 4.0 are deemed immediate risk, and they're being audited in the current year, fiscal year 26, and that's in the audit plan. And there's also at least half a dozen audits that are mandatory annual reviews, everything from ethics to cybersecurity to Europe, that has to be audited on an annual basis to adhere to the federal guidelines. But there's quite a few that have to be, that are mandatory annual audits. And also with the new audit standards, 2024 IIA audit standards, we have to do certain audits on an annual basis also. And that's another discussion entirely. We'll probably have that at the winter audit committee meeting, but certain audits have to be performed on an annual basis. And myself, I'm doing the column Q, where an additional auditor would help me to basically meet all the audits on our table. So it's a calculated field. Go ahead, please, sir.
So real quick. So to clarify and put a pin on it here, this is something that we've been doing every year, and the senior staff have been taking it seriously. I remember when I first became bureau chief back in 2020, spending a lot of time making sure that we had all the programs here, but we haven't used it as a direct roadmap to our audit function here, and that's been the leadership that Vernon, Commissioner Stafford, has brought here and Doug has taken on. So I feel more at ease knowing that we've captured wholly all of our programs and that we can have a roadmap on what really needs its focus and attention. So thank you, Doug.
Yeah, multiple bureau chiefs that says, should we reconcile to the TCA and all TCA? And I said, yes, that's a required field. We should definitely. So it's an eye-opening review for myself, and we have a lot of ground to cover, but I think we're doing fine. We'll be good. So that is it. And we'll have a deeper dive this winter. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I do want to acknowledge the work that Doug has done on developing the risk assessment. He's really matured the process, and it is a representation, a much better representation of where the risk is within the organization, and helps inform us all as to where the attention needs to be focused when it comes to audit work, as well as risk mitigation itself. So thank you, Doug. Appreciate that. And thank you to the bureau chiefs and their staffs for cooperating and participating in this process. A lot of this work could not have been done without the assistance of the bureau chiefs and their teams. So thank you all. Appreciate that. Any questions from the committee members? All right. We don't have on here an item for any new business or old business, but Dr. Gentile, anything old that we need to bring up or anything new that's on your mind?
Beyond what I discussed right as you were coming on with the sunset audit hearing coming up in a couple of weeks into the next year, nothing of note for this time.
All right, terrific. Any questions or comments from anyone on the committee before we take a motion for adjournment?
Appreciate Doug's work, very thorough, and greatly value it.
Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Ragsdale. Appreciate it. All right. With that, I'll accept a motion for dismissal, and we won't take a roll call vote.
Motion.
All right. Thank you so much. We are adjourned. Thank you all for your participation today. And again, forgive my lateness.